A lot of the Carolina Panthers offseason is going to be centered around the defensive side of the ball, as well as their ability to get a number one wide receiver, whether through free agency or a trade. So it's important for us to analyze the cap space that's currently on the Carolina Panthers roster and take a look at where they are. Now, you have two reliable resources at your disposal. Over the Cap, really good resource, as well as Track. It's funny, I used to call it Sport Track for all these years because it's been 2 years. But, anyways, for this past year, you can go out on Over the Cap. Team cap space for the Carolina Panthers is currently about $21 million, a little bit over that. And on Track, I believe it's around 23 million. Either way, it's not good. You're talking roughly 20th or 21st in cap space. Nothing in comparison to the New England Patriots, who have 133 million, or the Las Vegas Raiders with 112 million. Or how about the Washington Commanders, one of the best teams in the NFL, at $103 million. So I think a lot of the questions that we are going to have over the next really 2 or 3 months is restructuring, potential cuts. How are we going to save space? Now, you can go out to these websites and you can key in extensions, but a lot of times an extension is not the best way. And the Panthers, unfortunately, are just in a really bad position from mismanagement under the Scott Fitterer years. And maybe it was a little bit before him, but at least primarily Scott Fitterer. So the Panthers are just likely going to have to roll with what they have. The unfortunate news is they have a rookie quarterback, a quarterback on a rookie contract in Bryce Young with only $10 million against the cap this year. You look around other teams that are spending 2, 3, 4 times that, maybe even 5 times, 40, 50, $60 million guys. So it's a tight window. A lot of decisions to be made. Taylor Moton remains the highest paid player on the team currently at $31 million. There are some pre June 1st cap saving numbers, that are in place. The biggest differential for him, which always is a possibility, is a potential cut and maybe a re-sign. I do think there's an ability to restructure, maybe extend this out for 2 years. He's going to get his money. He's been a fantastic part of the team. He's definitely not old by any means, and I don't think he should be replaced. So I'd like to keep him here, but you have to figure out a way to lower that cap hit. Now, if they were to decide to move on, you're talking about roughly a $17 million savings in cap space, which is pretty significant. Next on the list, which I don't think we're going to see anything happen, Robert Hunt, his contract's going to stay. Well, I say this, you could see some of these guys convert some of their salary into a signing bonus and distribute the funds that way. But Robert Hunt, Derek Brown, Damian Lewis, all safe. The next name on the list, which may come up, is Jadeveon Clowney. And Jadeveon Clowney, a good part of this team. I liked him coming home to Carolina, South Carolina native. His cap number this year is $13 million. Panthers could save around 6 to 7 million if they let him go post June 1. We know he is getting a little bit older. I think he's a good veteran to keep around as long as you have other guys that are younger underneath him to put in the rotation. J.C. Horn's 5th-year option is $12 million. There is a possibility that we see a restructure and lowering of that number the same way that we saw with Derek Brown. Bryce Young, like I mentioned, $10 million. A'Shawn Robinson on 9.6 million. I think that's fine. Shai Tuttle is another one. It's 6.5 million in savings if you let him go after June 1st. I think that's always a possibility. Ike Ekwonu, currently at 8 million. There is no savings in letting him go. I mean, this is the final year. Panthers have to make a decision on his 5th-year option. Adam Thielen at 6 million. Or excuse me, I'm looking at how much you would save at 8 million. DJ Wonham at 7.9. Austin Corbett, this is when you talk about these voided years, you're just pushing the problem down the road because Austin Corbett, not on the active roster, not a Carolina Panther. We are on the books for him at $7.7 million. Josie Jewell, I cap hit of 7.2, Chuba Hubbard at 6. Dane Jackson, he is absolutely a possibility unless he just figures it out in camp that he could get cut or off season. Yash Nijman, 3.6, really good deal. And then Shaq Thompson and Shaq Thompson and Andy Dalton are your other two players that have voided contracts. And roughly you're talking $6 million in total cap hits with those contracts. So to be honest, the Panthers don't have a lot to work with. The only other player out there is Johnny Hecker with a voided year. It seems like the Panthers, we're going to want them to make some moves, and this is why you hire a expert that understands cap space. You look at what Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes and his monster deal that he had there. Brant Tillis is going to have to work some magic here in Carolina. There's no way the Panthers are going to be able to bring in a $20 to $30 million wide receiver, given the state of the roster, without plugging a lot of the needs. That's the unfortunate thing is like we don't have a ton of money to spend like these other teams. We have a lot of needs. So they are going to be busy, whether it's cutting players, whether it's restructuring. We didn't even really talk about Miles Sanders, whose cap hit this year is around 8. You would save 6.7. But I don't know. It depends on what the Carolina Panthers choose to do at the running back position. Are they going to keep Miles Sanders around? Maybe. Given that Jonathan Brooks is likely not going to see the field next year, I'm curious to see what they do. We know we need some defensive players. I don't know. It feels like maybe another year, but like we've had another year and another year and another year where you're just pushing it out and saying, well, once this thing kind of balances out and we kind of get out of debt with all these bad deals and players and contracts, we'll be able to get it right. And maybe eventually. But at least right now, it looks like they've got a lot of work because there's not a lot you can do with 20 million. Now, you can get fancy with it. That's always a possibility. The one upside for the Carolina Panthers looking ahead to 2026 right now is they do have about $150 million available. Now, the other thing that was not factored into this, at least as it is right now, is the potential of a cap increase. We know that there's always a possibility, like we saw last year, of a pretty significant increase in the cap number. That can do wonders. Give you an extra 10, 15, or $20 million available, levels things out. TBD when we'll find that out, but that's something that we'll also monitor. Either way, we've talked about free agency. Remember, legal tampering begins March 10th through the 12th, and then the new league year will begin on March 12th, and we'll start to see some free agent signings coming through. Remember, you can still have trades and trade offers that happen before that. So there's still a possibility that a trade occurs, but it just can't become official until the new league year starts. Anyways, I'd love to know, what do you think the Carolina Panthers should do with the cap? And who should they go after in free agency? Are you looking at all defense? You still think they can pick up a receiver? Who do you think they should bring back on the active roster? As always, folks, this is Carolina Dad. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and y'all have a good one.